Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Aliens and Angels. This is the live podcast, July 27th, and the topic is NHI contact, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I want you all to know, because a lot of people are using AI to write their scripts and even read their scripts and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of confusion, what's actually real out there and what's not. So I want you all to know that my content, except for the thumbnail and the background art, but all the other content is completely authentically human generated, and it includes absolutely no AI generated components. We are the real deal. Real people having real conversations. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the spectrum of non-human intelligence contact, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So please feel free to post your comments in the live chat and be part of this conversation. All of the links are featured below in the description, and I want to thank you in advance for liking, commenting, subscribing, and please do share my content with your friends. That would really help me out a lot. I'm trying to grow my channel, and you can help me do that. And one other thing I want to mention is YouTube channel memberships are now available, so you can receive my perks and help to support my channel. So I've got several different tiers ranging from very affordable monthly subscription rates up to more expensive. The more expensive ones include one-on-one time with me, as a counselor, as somebody to support you in your experiences. So, I'm just going to check in the live chat, and Denise says she can hear me okay. And yeah, she says, please say hi, hit the like button, share out, and subscribe. Thank you, everybody. And I want to thank Denise for being my moderator. She's absolutely fantastic, shows up for every show and puts in the time and the effort just to keep things on an even keel. So Denise, shout out to you. I really appreciate you. Thank you so very much. So I'm sure we will have some other guests join us today in the live chat. And so let's get into this topic. So, I've tried to keep this podcast very positive, with people who've had really positive ET and angelic experiences. But then, I was thinking while I was away the last couple of weeks, there's a lot of people who have had horrible experiences, and I don't think it's fair to just delete them and not mention them. So I thought what we could do today is let's go through the spectrum. I may not catch all of the experiences, but I'll hit as many as I possibly can. And I thought we could also go through them, arrange the spectrum from absolute three-dimensional physical contact right through the spectrum to the transdimensional contact, which is often done through lucid dreaming or disembodied states, or, like astral projection and things like that. I think they're all valid and they're all worth mention. So please do, like I said, put your comments in the live chat, and I'd love to include you. So let's start with the hardcore three-dimensional experiences. These seem to be the most negative of all of the experiences. And let me preface this by saying that I think there are many kinds of extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, many, many kinds. When, they're just now starting to discover that the universe is much broader and older than we ever dreamed possible, certainly more than what mainstream science is willing to admit. That means that some of these beings could be millions or billions or even older than that ahead of human beings. And so the kind of technologies they would have access to would be completely mind-boggling. And some of them probably as they come, as their places of origin come closer to our what we call our solar system. Now, I just want to say also, I'm not completely convinced we live on a globe Earth. And I'm not completely convinced we live on a flat Earth. I actually think we live in very a very fluid state of way of being that's, I guess you could term it, if you're into the simulation theory, you would understand it more like a very complicated video game, and that we're all a part of common consciousness or human consciousness or even uh, quantum consciousness. And so, you can slice it and dice it a number of different ways. That's totally okay with me. But some beings could be from relatively close star clusters and star systems. And they may be much younger, but they still might be much older than us. So I think we need to take that into consideration because they all have their own developmental path they're on and spiritual path they're on. And then the other part of that is, sorry, I'm really tired. I just flew back in yesterday from being away for a couple of weeks, and I didn't prepare for this show before I left, and I was on my way home and I went, oh my God, I am so not prepared for the show tomorrow. And I went, Karen, put on your big girl panties. You're a seasoned professional. You can do this show. And indeed, I can, and I am, and I will. But I'm a little bit tired. So I just want you all to bear with me. So, so there could be many, many different family lines or races of ETs that come in many different forms. And I think they can follow the spectrum from the very three-dimensional realities right through to the transdimensional, even the angelic realms. And so I am not saying it's this way or that way. Who knows? It's very complicated. But I think there's room for all of our experiences. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's see who else we have here today. Oh, Leah, nice to see you. Hello, Karen. I've missed you. Been super busy. All good, Leah. Just pop in when you can. Watch a replay when you can. Drop me a comment. Whatever. It's all good. It's all super good. And I'm just super glad to see you. So nice to see you. And of course, Denise, my faithful friend, Denise. Love having you guys here in the live chat. So let's get back to the three-dimensional. And I'm going to start with accounts that people have had that have been very frightening, that include both what we consider to be extraterrestrials, often with what we would call the Greys or reptilians, and they are working with human military people. And so their experiences often being abducted the way we often think a flying saucer shows up and abducts people. And then they're taken to underground facilities here on Earth where they see human soldiers, doctors, specialists, technicians, as well as extraterrestrial, often appearing to be mantid or reptilian, or of most common, the Greys. And I think I've never had that happen for me, so I can't really comment on it. But I would like to say that I think that goes along with a lot of the dirty shit that's going on our planet that needs to stop, from crooked politics to intense um, um, being people who think they have great privilege and can do whatever they want on this planet. The people that are basically in charge of things, and we have very little say on what goes on. And I'm sure they've done dirty deals, with different extraterrestrials who may not consciously be trying to harm us, but certainly do not take into consideration compassion and empathy and what these experiences are like for us humans. And then to make it that much worse, these experiences are denied. So these people are gaslit and told that they're crazy and they're imagining it. And that just adds to their suffering. And I think it's deplorable and I don't like it. Let's see what Leah has to say. Are the grays neutral or more negative due our muskrat promises and lack of progression? She says, not muskrat. I meant humans. Have we done poor by the grace? Oh, absolutely. It goes both ways. It really goes both ways. And we've got Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Nice to see you too. And very glad to have you in the live chat. I think it goes both ways. So we're talking about the most three-dimensional experiences here. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't think that there is one race or group of grays. I think there are many different advanced levels, not so advanced. Some of them aren't even beings, conscious beings. They're kind of like biological robots who do the bidding of beings who we haven't had contact with or maybe have. So, I mean, Whitley Strieber's written in his book called Communion, great deal about these robotic, very simple physical containers that contain the higher consciousness and possible AI or programming to do the bidding with humans. So I think that this could be very frightening and very confusing. And I think that it's just terrible and deplorable that humans and grays or whatever are doing this to humans. It sucks. And the other thing too is they're all on a spiritual journey as well as us. So, I do not want to think about what their karma is going to look like. And as our lifespans are very, very short, really. I hate to see what would happen for them when they're dead and gone and then have to pay their comeuppance for the deplorable things they have done. And that goes for, all those human beings who are not treating other human beings in a spiritually positive way, in a loving way, in an empathetic or compassionate way. So that is about that. And then, of course, there is the horrible way that the humans have captured and treat the grays and other extraterrestrials. So it goes both ways. And some of those so-called grays are container type physical bodies for a higher consciousness, and some of them we don't know. They could be beings of their own. I mean, the problem is we're not given any information, so we're left guessing. What the heck is going on? We're not really sure. And then after that, we have very physical, three-dimensional experiences that happen to people where they are abducted by UFOs. So they might be driving down the road and they see a UFO and suddenly they're missing 3 hours of time and they've got PTSD. There are also many experiences where they remember humans who clearly remember being transported to some kind of what we would call a spaceship of some size or shape. And they are terrified at first, but once they understand the process, they are less terrified. And for some people, this has been going on since childhood for years and years and years throughout their life. Some people have this intergenerationally, and some people are just can't remember, so they have nightmares and they think this is dreams, or they have remember parts of it. And again, kind of a negative experience. Now, I've heard other people like Dolly Saffron, who has had lifetime experiences with the Greys. She says that everyone gives permission for themselves to be abducted. And I don't know. I don't 100% get that. If we've done it in a spiritual form, and it scares the hell out of us and traumatizes us in a conscious physical reality, that's not exactly, giving permission. So I actually don't think that's, I mean, it might be true, but I don't think it's valid. I don't think anybody has the right to harm or scare or frighten or remove any of us without our full conscious permission. It would be better if we had it described to us what's going to happen ahead of time, or if they eased us into it slowly. I don't know. But, that makes me not trust some of these ET groups. So if and when, which I believe will be soon, we start having more contact, I'm going to be very skeptical, very skeptical about the physical 3D contact. And a lot of that even could be orchestrated by humans with agendas that are about control. And let's face it, when we're frightened, we're very easy to control. So it's just how we are as humans. So Leah has an interesting question here. She says, also, please, can a soul be different ET races? I was told I am both avian and Lyrian. Well, I would say that, and Denise adds that she believes she's Syrian, which are the blue-colored people. So what I think could be the case is many of us could be hybrids. Many of us, I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we come back not necessarily to Earth. We can come back to many different star systems, galaxies, levels of reality, dimensional realities, all kinds of possibilities. And so that makes it very possible that, yes, you could be both. You could have been both, or something else again. It's not easy to really slice and dice. So Denise says she agrees. So we've talked about the physical, three-dimensional. There's also in South America these tall beings that kind of appear on hoverboards and capture people and mutilate them. There's also in South America accounts of ET beings that are frightening, and they just seem to come out of the walls and appear, and that's very frightening. And I don't think any of that is kosher. Nobody has a right to hurt anybody else, whether it's psychologically, physically, and I think it sucks, and I don't agree with it. So that's my opinion, having never actually consciously remembered those experiences. Then we get into another level of experience that seems very three-dimensional. And so I don't know if you folks have seen the shows I've done with the Kinsella twins out of England. They both had ET abduction experiences, but they were different, and they were at different times. They didn't have them together at the same time. And their experiences are part seem very physical, but there's things that they can't explain that seem interdimensional, like, for instance, passing through walls or ceilings and being taken by what I would call the stereotypical grays. Sometimes they see humans, sometimes they've seen what might be reptilians or mantids. And it seems like it's happening on another dimensional reality than what we consider to be the 3D. So, what do I mean by that? Well, for instance, some people have been told by the reptilians or by the different ETs, stop complaining. We're not actually hurting your body. We're taking your, not necessarily your soul, but we're taking you, but in a more ethereal state, which feels absolutely real. And apparently, when we are in an ethereal state or an astral state, it's just like being three-dimensional. We can't always tell the difference. And I would definitely support that because I myself have had transdimensional experiences, and it was absolutely real, physical, eating, sleeping, doing things. It was absolutely physical to me. And so there is that. And now we tend to be not in more positive experiences. Sometimes they're still quite frightening, confusing. And again, NASA and other so-called experts on so-called space, they'll tell us, oh, no, nothing like that's happening. There's no ETs. You're imagining it all, and just gaslighting us. It doesn't help reduce the trauma at all. But these people that have these sort of mixed, they feel very three-dimensional, but they're more interdimensional experiences. Through time, they come to understand their experiences differently. So it's kind of like they can process the trauma and make sense of it and see some use in it. Another thing that bothers me about the more physical experiences, and I'll give as an example the Ariel school in Africa where the children saw the beings. Often they are told that we're ruining the planet, that we're destroying everything, that everything's going to be rack and ruin, and it's our fault. And again, that to me feels a lot like ET gaslighting. Because really, those who have the power that are causing, the nuclear bombs and all the shady stuff that isn't good for any of us and not good for our beautiful planet, that is beyond our control. I don't know about you guys, but I've always been very conscious when I go out into nature. Whatever I take with me, I bring back out. I make sure I save my garbage in my pockets and put it in a trash receptacle. I recycle. Like, I do everything I can to maintain the balance and harmony of this beautiful world I live in. And to gaslight us and tell us it's all our fault, just like the WEF is saying that it's all our fault. We got to stop eating meat and we're causing global warming. I just think it's a whole pile of crap that's being dispensed to us by humans, so-called ETs. We don't know. And then there's all the mind control and the technologies that can implant images and so-called experiences into us, and we think it's real. So it's crazy making. Oh my God, it's crazy making. But I think that there is a splitting of humanity between those who are loving, compassionate, care for the planet to the best of our abilities, eat well, get some exercise, sunshine, try to be good people. And then there are the people who are what I will call empathy deficient. And I'm not even going to talk about them because I don't want to. It's really disgusting that humans have sunk into this low, debased state, and those are not my friends, and I don't relate to them at all. Denise says, yes, it is crap, LOL. So we have all of that. And often it still traumatizes people, traumatizes children. They grow up with a sense of doom that we're going to destroy the planet and all this stuff. And then I think we're starting to cross over into the transdimensional or interdimensional realities, and that's where my experience is. And these seem to be, Chris, thank you, Kristen. Yeah, empathy deficient. Yeah, absolutely, that's what they are, in my opinion. So as we move into the more transdimensional or interdimensional experiences, generally these are more positive. And we can look at things that we experience in the dream state, astral projection, remote viewing. And then again, there is a lot of people have these experiences and they shrug it off. They go, oh, no, that can't be real. I must have imagined it. I must have been dreaming. I can't find anything to support it from ChatGPT, which personally I would not trust. I have not seen any evidence that any of the AIs know what they're doing yet. People go to AI expecting support and truth and information, and I think all they're getting is a bunch of gaslighting and mirroring. And that's just my opinion, and I could be wrong, but that's what I see, at least at this point. And it's also been heavily programmed to support Earth agendas that are not in our best interest. Let's just put it that way. So there are people who have these vivid experiences and while they're asleep, which is what happened for me. And I really enjoyed my time with the extraterrestrials. I learned a lot. And of course, I've written a book about my experiences, and it took me quite a long time to write the book. And of course, there are some AI generated images because I'm not an artist, and it got me close to what these beings look like so that you can enjoy a few images within my book. And before I go to a very short promotion for my book, I'm just going to say, Leah says, all the suffering we beget was dialed in beforehand by us to tech, empathy, and compassion. Well, I think a lot of this is programmed into us. And I think that it's not necessarily accurate or true. So with that being said, I'm going to just very quickly play a quick promotion for those of you who are not familiar with, actually I have 2 books out, and then we'll come back and we'll pick it up where we left off. Learn the stunning details about ET diversity and culture, along with their advanced ways of living and expressing spirituality, which is in no way like anything imagined here on Earth. Transdimensional, Meet the New Neighbors, introduces you to many different ET beings, the healing pods, the interior of the big ship, my orientation process, cultural events, and off-world mating practices. In my contact experience, I learned a great deal about the big ship, intergalactic and transdimensional travel, intergalactic planetary research, and the various options for resettlement. Once I published my first book, I felt the need to create a second book called Transdimensional 2, Meet the Greys picture book. I worked with AI to develop many images of beings that we have come to know of as the Greys. These beings come from many places, realms, dimensions, and timelines, and although they are of the same species as other humanoids, they are from many different family lines and races. What qualifies them as Greys is that their skin does not contain the pigment necessary to reflect light in our visible range of the color spectrum, so to us, they all appear to be various shades of gray. Beyond this physical attribute, there is much diversity in their origins, cultures, purposes, and physiological details. My goal is to get you used to the looks of beings which are different than humans in order to reduce your fear and increase your familiarity so you will remain more rational and grounded once the ET presence escalates beyond debate. Enjoy these images and notice the things we have in common so you will see that although they are different from us in appearance, we are essentially many family lines within one species. Paperback and Kindle versions of both books are now available on Amazon worldwide. Search the Amazon and Kindle bookstores and pick up your copies today. Yeah, so, I prefer to have a more positive outlook as to the grays, because why not? And, but it's not to negate anybody who's had a frightening, traumatic, abduction experience. And for those people, my heart goes out to you. If I can help in any way, please contact me. And I'm just going to put up here. Denise says, Karen's books are amazing. I highly recommend them. Thank you, Denise. Yeah, I'm really glad you guys are enjoying it. Oh, and we're welcome by Woo Riders DG. Nice to see you, my friend. Hello, God bless to all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for popping in. And if any of you have any opinions on the things I'm saying, please do share them, and I'd be happy to put them on screen. And let me just have a look here. Sorry. I had other people. I had Gary May McGill host the Quantum Guide Show, which is my other podcast, while I was away, and I noticed he put quite a bit of notes in here, and I'm just gotta sort of get through them so that I can get to the one that I want to see. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, he did 2 great shows. One was on Skinwalker Ranch with Ryan Burns, who owns property in Space Wolf Research, which is right beside overlooking Skinwalker Ranch. That was very interesting. And then the second one they did was all about the Bermuda Triangle. So the Bermuda Triangle one, which is Quantum Guide Show episode 229, please watch it on Rumble or Odyssey, and you'll get the whole thing along with the images. But the one on on YouTube, I had to take it down, and I had to delete a lot of the visuals that Gary May had so lovingly provided, because it got a massive copyright strike and got banned basically on YouTube. So I did uploaded it to YouTube, but it's missing a lot of the visuals. So if you go, like I said, to Odyssey or to Rumble, then you can see all the beautiful images that he supplied. Okay, so I'm just going to throw on a banner here so that it tells you the things I forget to mention sometimes. And we'll continue the conversation. So we covered in the first half of the show, we talked about the negative experiences people have with ET. And some of them are bad and some of them are downright ugly. Some of them are so traumatizing, they have a negative effect on humans for the rest of their lives. And I don't 100% know who or what is causing those things to happen, but there seems to be half are positive experiences and half are negative, but that's within the 3-dimensional realm. And then there's a bit of overlap between the transdimensional realms and the 3-dimensional realms, where people have what feels like a real physical experience, but they realize that they're being passed through doors and closed doors and walls and ceilings and things, and they don't really get for the longest time on how that's possible when they're having a 3D physical experience. So I'm thinking that it might be a little bit of both, or it might just be other aspects of us that we're not really aware of because it's been, uh, I would say, filtered out of our mainstream. Well, the dialogue, we don't have the concepts, and also just not really be available to us. And so, yeah, so that adds to the problem. Plus, our governments have been saying, oh, there's no such thing as ET, there's no such thing as flying saucers, there's no such thing as transdimensional anything. And they just keep gaslighting us and gaslighting us. And then there's the religions that tell us these are demons. And that can make an abduction scenario that's been frightening even worse. And yeah, no good at all. So getting on to the transdimensional experiences, I want to also mention, if you haven't seen the podcast called The Telepathy Tapes, season 1 is already out. And Ty Dickens, who is a producer of that podcast, has also got another series out called Telepathy Talks. And if you listen to those podcasts, you'll understand how people who are autistic, some mildly, some not autistic at all, and some who are nonverbal autistic, are able to have these transdimensional experiences with not just what we would consider extraterrestrials, but also with the angelic realms, angelic beings, giants. I know Leah mentioned earlier on about giants. Giants apparently are a real thing, but they've been all the evidence of them has been scrubbed and deleted. And another podcast I highly recommend is called My Lunch Break. And this guy does a phenomenal job of going back through history, all the records, but also just what's obvious that of other societies that have been wiped clean. And those of you familiar with the mud flood or any of those kind of, or Tartaria, or any of those kind of shows would be familiar. And well, I guess the flat earthers would be familiar as well with these resets that keep happening. And I did a podcast not too long ago on the Quantum Guide Show, if you want to see it, all about the cycles of resets and how I see that whole phenomenon happening. So there is so much we don't know. We just don't know. And we're being programmed constantly to believe what those who are what I would call the parasite class, some call them the ruling class, how they keep us under control and in a slave state as wage slaves and certainly debt slaves today. And it's just a big mess, but it doesn't mean what they're telling us is true. In fact, the contrary, I have come to understand that everything is an inversion. So whatever they tell you is good for you might not be good for you. And everything they tell you is bad for you might actually be good for you. So I think you should take everything with a grain of salt. Use your critical thinking skills. Keep them sharpened. Keep yourself grounded. Don't buy into anything that makes you afraid, because right away what happens is fear causes us to no longer be grounded and to be more easily controlled. And it's a bit of a nasty business. Let's see what Kristen says. Quantum healing, astral projection in travel, all are very real from my experience. Yeah, mine too. And from what I said after that, Kristen is saying absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with you people out there and in the live chat. There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot that's hidden. And, I believe that actually there's a reset maybe every 300-400 years, maybe 500 years. And I also believe that corresponds to disasters that naturally happen When you figure that our sun goes mini nova or supernova, we know that there are, I guess, for a lack of a better word, electronic frequencies that are coming from the central sun, which is part of our central to our galaxy, not our solar system. There are the culling of planets. There's natural evolution of planets where, like, our Earth will actually expand and shrink, and that has a devastating effect. We have pole shifts. I could go on and on. That's a topic for another podcast. But that is why there are some intergalactic and trans-intergalactic resettlement programs. And I've been told that Earth is actually being resettled 5 times or reseeded 5 times. But each time we have come from other worlds where we're already very advanced. I do not believe that ETs came here and tinkered with with the DNA of monkeys or apes and created us. It may have seemed that way at the time. I don't actually believe that, and I have not seen evidence of that. What I have seen evidence is a lot of the things that we think gods created, gods meaning the title gods, which might be ETs, or even spiritual beings. A lot of the things that we're taught were created by other beings, not us. A lot of that, we created it. We had the ability to move massive megalithic stones and create some of these incredible structures that are all around the world. There's a good chance that we created those amazing Romanesque cathedrals that are found all over the world. They were not built by humans. What happened was humans found them and basically dug them out and repurposed them, put in electricity if we had electricity, or gas lamps at the time, cleared away all the foliage. So you've seen videos, I'm sure, and documentaries where they show, like in South America, there are these massive, well, actually in China, in the Middle East, where there are these massive structures and not just structures, but actual like cities underground and overground, and they have been all overgrown. So they're covered in plants, and they are not even visible until we had modern technology to detect them. And then what happened is they had to go in and restore them. So a lot of these structures have been restored, but not built. And if you watch my lunch break, you will see the proof of that. And so I think that on various reseedings of planet Earth by humans, we were bigger, stronger. Maybe we were the giants, and we had a lot more oxygen back then that we don't have now. And we know that beings, whatever the species or race, are much larger when there's an abundance of oxygen. And since the oxygen has been, much lower, we become smaller and smaller. Denise says, I totally agree. So there's a lot to consider here, a lot. But I do think that this is planet Earth and this is our realm. This is the realm of the humans, but not just the humans, the whales, the other cetaceans, the kangaroos, the muskrats, the bunnies, the dogs and cats, whatever is indigenous to planet Earth. This is our realm, and we reign here. And those who are, I'm going to say, spiritually deviant, who also happen to be empathy deficient, they may have all the dirty tricks so that they can fool many humans and they can do their dirty work here on planet Earth. But I think a day of reckoning is coming. And like I said, this is not our only incarnation. And after this, I think those of us that are listening to my podcasts and many others, we're here to for soul evolution. We're here to prove that we can be loving and compassionate. We're here to prove that this world could be very, very different than what it is. And our lifespans are very short. A couple of generations, nobody even remembers us. There's not much left, of what we have built and put our hand to. And then I believe we go into what I tell my grandchildren is the magic state, which might be the heavenly realms, might be other planetary systems. We might have some beautiful experiences with very positive extraterrestrial transdimensional experiences. And then I think when we're ready or when the time is right, we incarnate again, maybe not back to Earth, but maybe to one of these other very advanced realities. Maybe we go to the heavenly realms. Like, I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. Kristen says, Karen, what is your opinion on dinosaurs? Oh, well, it's a little out there. I'll just tell you that, Kristen. First of all, much of what were presented in museums as dinosaurs are simply constructs. They find bones that don't necessarily go together. They don't have any idea whether these bones are covered, how they're covered in muscle tissue, or whether they're covered in skin or feathers, what color they were. A lot of this is constructed. Plus, all the original bones, all of them are hidden away, so we don't even know what they look like. And they've been replaced by basically plaster castings of constructed dinosaurs that we see in the museums. And we think, oh, that's a T-Rex. Of course, it doesn't make any sense to me why it would have these little short, spindly arms on such huge muscular bodies. But anyway, and so some people believe that the dinosaurs evolved and became the reptilians, and the reptilians live below the surface of our Earth, and they're more advanced than us. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying anybody is wrong. What do I know? I'm an old lady with a podcast who's making conversations about things that I want to talk about and that you want to talk about, that we can't find accurate information about that. So as far as the dinosaurs go, I don't really know what's true. I'm just going to admit it. I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm giving you my opinions. But I don't have the facts. I wish I did. I totally do. So they might well have been here at one time. It makes sense if the Earth, had a bit of a creation point. The purpose of things like dinosaurs would be to consume the massive vegetation. The oxygen levels we know were very high, which would support large, huge plants and dinosaurs. But you know what? We also have all kinds of evidence that humans and dinosaurs were alive at the same time. So there are all kinds of figurines that are thousands of years old that have been found in archaeology sites where they have made little models of what we consider dinosaurs and people riding them. So they are a real thing, and they are in our established historical accounts. But what they actually look like or are, I don't know. Seriously, I don't know. I'm mostly guessing. So getting back to extraterrestrial experiences, so we've talked about the ugly. Sometimes the ugly is the way they appear. Now, if we had never been to Australia, never seen the animals they have in Australia and the bugs and sea creatures, we might be shocked to see them for the first time, but eventually we go, oh yeah, that's a kangaroo. I understand that. And then what goes along with that is actually my second book, where I wanted to reduce the fear. Hi, Nina, the Mystic Truther. So glad to have you here. Folks, if you haven't gone over and subscribed to Nina's podcast, I highly recommend it. And Nina sent me, I'm very happy. Um, I actually bought a couple of lovely little, a couple of, sorry, as I will tell you again, I'm really tired from my trip. Lovely tank tops. And then she also sent me some stickers for her channel, and they're beautiful. And so, guys, check out Nina. She's a lovely human being, and she's so much fun, but she's so knowledgeable. She's one of the most intelligent women I have ever met, and I love being friends with her. And she will be actually my guest on the Quantum Guide Show, part of a panel I call Mystical Mothers, coming up this Wednesday. So I hope y'all get to watch that, but please do go over and subscribe to her. So, Nina, what we're talking about today is the huge diversity in experiences with non-human intelligences. So we also have some, so I mentioned the telepathy tapes, highly recommend you listen to that, because you're going to hear about all kinds of humans who are regularly having transdimensional experiences with other kinds of beings. I was so happy to hear about that, because it completely validates my experience in the ET realms as well. And anyway, so there's those transdimensional experiences. And I also firmly believe we all have telepathic abilities, and it's up to us to develop them. And once we do, we have more access to other realms, other dimensional realities, all kinds of other experiences. And if you go out and purchase my book, which is, sorry, I shouldn't say go out, it's available on Amazon worldwide, called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, you will learn a lot about the real life paranormal experiences I have had, and then my extraterrestrial experiences, which were transdimensional. And I've done my best to bring you right into my experience to see what that was like, and what it was like coming back to my earthly experience after experiencing time with these highly evolved, very spiritual and loving beings. So my experience was very, very positive. So there are a lot of people who've had these really positive, including an array of, people on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. So I think it's absolutely a real thing. So I think all in all, there's more positive experiences than negative. If you haven't done so already, you could subscribe to Preston Dennett's channel. And he's been a MUFON investigator for many years, and he will attest to the fact that there are many, many people who've had healings by beings that we call the Greys, all kinds of positive experiences, and they're not all negative. And I think the key thing I want to bring out here is to not be afraid. Whether you have good experiences, bad experiences, or ugly experiences with ETs or non-human intelligences, I think it's very important that we keep our perspective and our and be grounded and keep our critical thinking skills. So I also want to just mention what's come up very recently is humans who have psionic abilities that contact what I would consider to be transdimensional ships that are generally egg-shaped. Well, there's different kinds. Some are more look like jellyfish, and some are triangular, and there's different kinds. But when they have been capturing them, so basically we have technology that humans use to basically call them in like a dog whistle into our reality. It's pretty much accepted that they are transdimensional. When they come into our 3D dimension, they then use other technologies to bring them down or deactivate them. And then they're captured and transported to generally military and scientific facilities. I have no idea what they do with the poor beings. It's kind of a nasty business. And then there are those who are breakaway human groups who are using natural psionics through humans. And they're just at this point, they're not bringing them down with technology. They're just sort of getting images and film footage and things like that of them so that we can discover more about them. Anyway, there's one fella doing that, and before he basically switched sides and was working for, the military, he would go out and retrieve. They call them crash retrievals. They're not. It's all orchestrated by human technology. And when he did that, he had a very extremely spiritual experience, and he can't even talk about it without crying. It touches him so deeply. And he felt an immense amount of love and compassion from the being that was contained in the object that he retrieved. And so, like I said, there's a lot of really positive experiences. And, I really kind of wish we could know what the heck was going on. I mean, it would be lovely if ETs, landed on the White House lawn and said, okay, these are the facts. But you know what? There's so many different kinds of ETs, probably more than we could ever fathom or imagine. And some, I think, have good purposes and some not so good. And some would scare the hell out of us because we've never seen anything like that before, and it's a natural knee-jerk reaction. And some, would be kind of not scary at all. And some look like humans, and it's huge. It's impossible to know for sure. But what I do know for sure is that my experiences have been positive. Many people's experiences are positive. I encourage everyone to work on your psychic abilities. Again, in my book available on Amazon, I teach you how to increase your psionics or your psychic abilities. And the more we practice that and realize it's a real thing, the more of it happens. So I'm just going to, before we close out, talk a little bit about the 100th monkey thing. And that was experiments that were done where they basically went to a little island. There was a certain kind of monkey there. Monkeys love sweet potatoes. The scientists dropped sweet potatoes into the sand, but monkeys don't want to eat it. They love sweet potatoes, but they don't want to eat it if it's covered in sand. And somewhere along the line, their children started washing the sweet potatoes and then taught the adults how to do it. And then the surrounding islands, the monkeys just spontaneously started doing it. And then all over the world, the monkeys started doing it. So I think the same is true for us. Now, we're not washing the sand off yams, but we are working on our psionics, our psychic abilities, our contact with other kinds of beings. And the more we do that, I think the more humans will just naturally start doing it. And I think in that way, we can harmonize with these non-human intelligences and get a relationship going and actually form community. And we can fix anything, guys. We can fix anything that's gone wrong on this planet. So don't believe what you're told by the mainstream. And I would encourage you not even to believe me or to believe people in the alt reality and podcast realms. Do your own research and discover for yourselves what is real, what's not real. Check out other podcasts like Nina the Mystic Truther. She's constantly searching for truth. And a lot of times she does shows where she admits she doesn't have all the answers, but she's asking the right questions and she's bringing truth to humanity. So, everybody, I encourage you to check her out and check out her merch. It's awesome. Yeah, so there's that. So that's about it for today. I'm just going to quickly go through, see if there's any new comments in the live chat. I don't see anything new, but Denise has said, thank you all for joining Karen today and sending much love. Absolutely. Absolutely. Much love to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And Kristen says, I'm grateful for all the light workers. And Denise says, thank you, Karen. Please rest now. Yeah, I'm going to go have a nap. Sorry, I'm not that with it today, but I didn't want to let you down by not showing up. And like I said at the beginning, I'm a seasoned professional. I can do this. So here I am just doing it. Next week, we have a guest. Sorry, can't remember who it is, but it's going to be a great show. Join us for the Quantum Guide Show on Wednesday, and you can see Nina, the Mystic Truther, and Jennifer Halkane will be joining us. We're going to do Mystical Mothers. So Mystical Mothers is not about how to be perfect parents. It's just things we've learned, and we're all mothers. So some of it's to do with how we educate and treat our children. Some of it has nothing to do with that. It's just that we're mystical mothers and we're a panel and we come together once a month and we talk about relevant stuff. So I hope you'll all join us for that. So I'm just going to stop my banner now and go to the outro. And I'll just say goodbye and hopefully see you all Wednesday, and hope you have the best week ever, and just sending out much love and good thoughts and intentions to each and every one of you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment. And please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you'll also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.